So this was on our first tour in Europe, the tour where we were hitchhiking to most of the shows, but for 1 month we had a train pass. And during that month we were playing most of our shows with Sufi Nun Squad, and we were taking the trains to shows and they were taking their tour van, which we could not fit in, which was fine for us because the trains were really nice and we had a really good time. So we're on our way from Lyon to Barcelona, but the train to Lyon is really, really late, and eventually we find out that it ran into a cow on the tracks, and so it's like 2 hours late picking us up. So we're on the train, we have our own little private room with the air conditioner, we're totally relaxing, taking a nap, everything's great. We get to the Spanish border, and the train guy comes in, he says, "Okay, get off the train, no more train," and we don't speak French and he doesn't speak English, so it's really awkward, and we're telling him that we're going to Barcelona. He says, "This train will not go to Barcelona, get off the train." And we're like, "Why? What should we do?" And he says, "Taxi or hotel." And we're freaking out because we want to make it to our show, which we heard that all the shows in Spain start really, really late, so we still had a lot of hope that we would make it to the show. It was only about 8 o'clock, and should only have like 2 or 3 more hours to go to get to Barcelona. So the guy, so we get off the train, we have no idea what's going on. No one really speaks English to us, and we're thinking that we're just, screwed and we won't make it to the show. Then there's this guy, the Syrian guy, who speaks English, he speaks Arabic, he speaks Spanish, and he speaks French. And he kind of becomes like our team leader. He's going around talking to everyone. And there's people that speak all those languages that really need his help, and it's really great because he's just sharing what they're telling him with everyone. And there's a really cute couple from Singapore who we find out are on their honeymoon vacation, and they're really, really awesome. So eventually we find out that if anyone has actually bought a ticket all the way to Barcelona or has a train pass, that a bus is going to come and pick us up and take us to Barcelona. Our problem then was that we were actually trying to go to La Roca, which was about 20 kilometers north of Barcelona, and the train was going to pass right through, so we were just going to get off at La Roca, no problem. The bus, however, was not going to stop there, so we had to work that out, which we were trying to figure out what to do. The Singapore couple was nice enough to lend us their cell phone when they found out our problem, and we called the promoter, who also didn't speak English, and we tried to explain that we were going to be late. Everyone assured us that it would be fine and that we should just take a taxi from Central Station to the club when we get there, back out to La Roca. It won't be a problem. Then, of course, the bus that's taking us to Barcelona doesn't show up till about 10:30, and it's about a 2-hour bus ride, I guess. So we're looking at like 12:30 is our best time getting there, which the promoter and the German driver, who we call Dr. Alban for Sufi Nun Squad, assures us that everything will be fine. The show probably won't even start till around 12:30. So everyone in our little group finds out that we're in a band, and they think it's really crazy that we're taking the train to our show and that we're trying to get to a show and play, so late. And these kind of punk kids from another town. The bus was stopping in 2 cities, one big city on the way to Barcelona, and they invited us to stay. They were like, "You should just stay with us. Don't go to your show. You'll never make it." It was really cool because everyone was just hanging out, being helpful to each other. And the Singapore couple even said, like, "What if you get to Barcelona and you have no show, or you can't make it to your show? Where will you stay?" And we're like, "Oh, we don't know. We'll figure out something." But they then said, "No, well, we have a hotel downtown by the train station. You can just sleep on our floor." And then, of course, it's their honeymoon. So we're like, "We can't, it's your honeymoon. We can't sleep on your floor." And they say, "No, it's day number 5. It's okay," which was pretty funny. So eventually the bus shows up and takes us to Barcelona, which seems hopeless. We get there, and we use the honeymooners' cell phone again, and we can't really get good directions for the show. So they're just saying, take a taxi, just tell them La Roca, city center, and that's all we have. So a taxi pulls up as I'm on the phone. He says taxi, and so there's our choice. So I say, yeah, sure, and I hang up the phone. We say goodbye to our very nice friends from Singapore, And we go to the taxi driver, and I ask him if he can take us to La Roca. He doesn't speak English very well, and which of course we don't expect any of these people to be speaking English, and it's completely our fault that we're traveling in a land and we don't know their language. So please don't get me wrong, I'm not in any way implying that they should be speaking English. We should be speaking Spanish and French. But anyway, so I say, well, we're trying to go to La Roca. Can you take us to La Roca? And he says, La Roca blah blah blah, or La Roca blah 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 in Spanish. And of course, I have no clue what he's talking about, so I try to explain it. I'm like, a small industrial city, 20 kilometers. And he's like, no, 40 kilometers, very far. And so we're not sure if we're going to go to the right La Roca, which he tells us it'll be 80 euros, which seems horribly expensive for a 20-kilometer trip, which is only, like 15 or 16 miles or whatever. So we eventually just get in the cab because we have no idea what to do. We find out kind of right away that he doesn't know where La Roca is because we stop at a toll booth as soon as we get on the motorway, and he tells us, we hear him like asking directions to get to La Roca. And then we're driving, and he just turns to Hannah and he says, America, music, broza, blah, 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 something crazy with about 20 syllables. And this goes on for a really long time. America, which we got. Music, broza, blah, 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 blah. Really, no clue what he's saying. After about the 5th or 6th time, Hannah says, do you mean Bruce Springsteen? And he gets really excited. He's like, yeah. And so we sort of talk about Bruce Springsteen the best we can with the huge language barrier. And then we lost him on the next one, which was America, actor, Craig Mitchum, son, Robert Mitchum. And we had no idea. So that was that. Then he finds out that we're playing music, and just like everyone else of our evening. Oh, this is also about 1:45, close to 2 a.m. at this point as we're driving. And we've been on the train. We were on the train for about 9 hours before we totally gave up. We're at the train station in Lyon, and then on the train and waiting for the bus for about 9 hours. So this is entering like our 10th hour driving around trying to make it to our show, which shouldn't have been nearly this hard to get to. So anyway, then he finds out we're playing music, and he goes over our schedule with us, which was tonight, La Roca, tomorrow, Barcelona, tomorrow, San Sebastian. And he thinks we're nuts. Like, he thinks we're totally nuts. He's like, no music tonight. And we, just like all night, we've been trying to convince everyone that we will, in fact, play music tonight, And so we get to La Roca after we pass the interstate sign for the exit, and I have to beg him to turn around to go back and take the right exit, which we find La Roca, and it's not a very, very small village like we hoped. It's a pretty big town, and there's no way to know where the city center is. We have no address, we have nothing. So we're driving, and I clearly see the shadow of a member of Sufi Nun Squad way back behind this fence. In a window of a warehouse, I see a shadow of a guitar player or bass player being cast on the wall. And I tell him to stop. I'm like, there it is, back there in that warehouse. And he's like, no music there, no music, and he thought we were totally insane. We made him drive through the gate and back to this warehouse, and then we heard Sufi Nun Squad playing, and it was the sweetest sound. We saw their Sprinter, their tour van, outside, and we were so excited and so tired. And we walk in, and Sufi Nun Squad had been playing for about an hour, trying to extend their set as long as possible to cover for us, which was really awesome of them. So we finally walk in, and people are okay to see us. We pay the taxi driver. We talk him down to 70 euro, which was still outrageous, which we're sure we're going to get paid for back out of the door money. And so we get in, and we finally start playing, and we're so tired, and everyone's talking really, really loud. This is our first show in Spain ever. We had no idea what Spanish punks would think of a weird acoustic band that can't sing and sings high-pitched. So we're about song 5, and we're about to just give up, and like consider the day a crazy defeat. And I tell Hannah, like, we should play one more song and quit. And she's like, yeah, I know. So we play our song Cemeteries, which is really quiet and has kind of a loud part in the end. And somewhere in the middle of the song, we made this connection with the crowd, and everyone gathered around and got really close and started listening. and like seemed to really care about what we were doing all of a sudden. And then they were really excited, so we kept playing, and we kept playing, and they just kept getting more excited. And eventually we played a Cat Stevens cover, and they picked us up over their heads, including Hannah while she was playing violin, and carried us around and like marched us around the room, really, really excited. And we stopped that song, and they started doing some sort of Spanish football chant, I think. I think in Europe a lot of times they do football chants when they want you to play more. Not really sure what it was about. So we tell them that we can't really play anymore, and then they get really excited, and one guy tells me that since we play acoustic, we should march while we play. And I'm like, I can't march while I play, and he wants us to like march around the room. So we play one more song, and I think, well, I'll satisfy the now enthusiastic crowd by exiting the building while we're playing. That way it'll wrap up our set since we have no more songs. So then we march out of the building at the end of the song, which gets everyone super excited, and the whole crowd's outside now, like standing on cars and jumping around and like having a great time. They start doing the chant again, so I end up having to play a song that Hannah doesn't know that I just played. It's literally the last song that we even have as a band, like together. This was like our first real tour. We only had 14 songs maximum, and so we play the last song, and it was just a really great night. Then a guy comes up to us and says, "Your music was so good, it's inspired me and my band to play now." And this is about 2:45 or something like that. It's really late now. And his band, Piero Pachinko, I'm probably not saying that right, like very Spanish-influenced punk band, just like took the stage of the Sufi Nun Squad's equipment and went totally nuts and like rocked us all out, and it was amazing. Of course, I was super tired, so I actually ended up falling asleep on the concrete floor of the building. But like, overall, it was pretty fucking awesome day, and the band was great. And yeah, so that's just a story about why touring is so cool, because there's days like that when everything seems against you to the very last moment, but if you keep trying and keep trying until the very end and never give up under any circumstance, a lot of times it works out really awesome, and you feel really good about yourself, and you have a good time, that's all.